You're probably a fan of forensic investigation TV shows, from the different CSI shows set in various US locations to Bones and even the macabre Dexter series. Most of these shows glamorize forensic investigation in as such the jobs and roles involved are made to look sexy. Some of these shows are set in exotic locations, making it even more enticing, with forensic experts arriving on the scene under glorious sunshine, where their police counterparts have incredible respect for the work that these forensic people do, and how pivotal the forensic people's jobs are in the process of bringing bad people to justice by working out the clues from evidence that can lead to not only solving a case, but to criminal prosecutions of the accused perpetrators. I find it quite interesting how the forensics people find the clues at the scene, from straightforward fingerprints to shoe prints to even more complicated DNA markers found in obscure places. It kind of makes me feel safer knowing this type of advanced tech in forensics is available to all. Even when they are working in the lab, this is made to look like the paradise of forensics, and the steps these people take to analyse and come up with what's happened and who is involved is all designed to make forensics even more attractive and appealing. One of the roles people get enticed into in forensic science is the crime scene investigators, also known as the forensic scene investigators, or forensics for short. It's these roles that the TV shows have brought a level of glitz to, where the crime scene investigator is shown to be involved in securing and protecting the crime scene. They collect the evidence from the crime scene, meticulously prepping for lifting fingerprints, collecting biological evidence like hair, liquids, to bagging clothing for later analysis, and then photographing the crime scene. This evidence is then taken back to the lab where it's analysed under laboratory conditions to determine if there's enough material available to find a match through fingerprints, DNA, or gather more clues if the evidence is insufficient, like analysing the type of shoes worn by the assailant, the clothing from the fibres found at the scene, to evidence from weapons like the discharged shells from the gun to a knife attack used in an Another area where evidence is key is from post-mortems, and crime scene investigators will liaise with their colleagues conducting the post-mortem to find further clues. This can include the estimated time of death, the injuries suffered, any traces of biological materials like human fluids, skin and hair. These post-mortems could include homicides to victims of fires, chemical incidents. As a crime scene investigator, all this evidence will need to be processed and categorised, allowing it to be used in any further investigation. Forensic scientists are also employed in the court system to assist with trials and at times can be hired by medical examiners. In many cases, forensic scientists are hired by law firms or insurance companies to analyse crime scenes for evidence. Forensic scientists conduct scientific investigations, collecting evidence in order to answer questions related to the incident. A forensic scientist may also be called to testify as an expert witness at a trial, in which the defendant is charged with first-degree murder, for example. The forensic scientist may be asked to determine the time of death, as well as the other crime scene details, including blood splatter patterns and powder residue on articles of clothing. The discipline of forensic science includes both law enforcement agencies, such as police departments or the FBI, that use scientific methods in solving crimes, and the crime labs within these departments that specialise in the application of scientific methods to the field of law enforcement. Crime scene investigation, more commonly known as CSI, is a branch of forensic science that involves collecting and analysing physical evidence found at a crime scene. This can include both non-living objects such as blood or fibres, as well as living persons or animals who died from injuries inflicted by violent means and anything that might have been in contact with them. Do you have to be smart to do forensics? There are many misconceptions about what it takes to be a forensic scientist. The answer is quite simple. You don't need to be a genius. In fact, one of the most important requirements is curiosity. If you enjoy learning about how the world works and solving puzzles, then this could be a career for you. There are so many things to learn about. How human anatomy is formed, how DNA is transferred from one body to another during a sexual assault, and more. In certain cases, the use of forensic science can even save lives, whereby prolific criminals can be stopped in their tracks so other people don't become their victims. This is especially true of serial killers, where catching these killers as quickly as possible limits the number of murders they will commit. Does forensic science involve a lot of math? Yes, forensic science does require a lot of math. This includes calculating statistics, analysing blood splatter patterns, and using 3D models to recreate crime scenes. The number one reason people choose to pursue forensic science is because they enjoy the challenge of solving puzzles. How long does it take to get a job in forensics? When choosing a career path, it is important to consider what you are passionate about. Many people have no clue on how long it takes to enter the field of forensics. They are passionate about learning about forensics from all the TV shows they see, but when they start studying for forensics, they soon realise it can take a long time to get qualified. Some estimates can put this upwards of 10 years to get a high-skilled job in this field, to be able to compete and be able to get work. Just qualifying with a degree doesn't cut it for getting a decent job in forensics, as the competition to entry-level jobs is fierce, so hiring organisations get to pick and choose what they perceive are the best candidates. Those with more experience on top of their better qualifications will find it easier to get work, whilst those who lack experience could end up in the doldrums for years trying to find out work in this field. All the while, the time they're not actually working in forensics will then stack up against them, as this will be looked upon as wasted time with no relevance to forensics. So those who do manage to get entry-level forensic roles, they will have a better chance, as there will be many steps up the forensics career ladder. Are forensic scientists in demand? Forensic science is a field where qualified professionals are always in demand. This doesn't mean new qualified forensic graduates, but those who have managed to build up many years of experience. This is where those thinking of a career in forensics often slip up. They see the high number of jobs on offer and assume, simply by graduating, there will be a job waiting for them. But the reality is, as I've said before on this video, there's a lot of competition to get onto the career ladder, so unless you're the best of the best, you're going to struggle to get started. Forensic science is a difficult field to study, requires a lot of patience and perseverance. There is a perception there are many opportunities for career progression and advancement, as well as job security due to the lack of qualified people in this field. However, this does not equate into real life, as a recent surge in people studying forensic science has increased dramatically, leading to only those with high levels of skill and many years of experience being sought after, whilst those that are newly qualified can often struggle to get onto the forensics career ladder. Those people with loads of forensic experience can play an important role in solving crimes and other situations where the circumstances surrounding an event could prove to be difficult to understand or prove. What should I study to become a forensic scientist? Becoming a forensic scientist requires a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in forensic science. It is important to understand the basics of genetics, toxicology and other sciences in order to work as a forensic scientist. Forensic scientists can be employed by law enforcement agencies to investigate crimes by looking for clues at the crime scene. So it's important to understand that not all forensic scientists are created equal. Some may have more experience than others and work with a wider range of tools and methodologies. For example, toxicology is just one topic that can be studied by a forensic scientist, while an expert in DNA analysis could take part in many different cases. Another area of forensics is a forensic toxicologist. Toxicologists work in laboratories, examining samples collected by investigators at a crime scene, and can get involved in what is known as death investigation toxicology or post-mortem toxicology. This involves not only determining the presence and amount of a toxic substance in a corpse after death, but also how natural processes in the body affect the substance, including chemical changes and dissolution. Toxicologists also use their problem-solving skills to determine the source of a substance and determine if the substance can help solve criminal cases, and they are often called to testify in court about their findings. The toxicologist also collects samples, develops new test systems, and evaluates the risk of certain substances. The field of forensic toxicology is expanded to include drug and alcohol testing for employers and law enforcement officers, and animal testing for wildlife investigators. Many of those who want to become forensic technicians must earn at least a bachelor's degree in forensic medicine, toxicology, chemistry, clinical chemistry, or a related field, although many forensic toxicologists earn a bachelor's degree in forensic toxicology and a master's degree in forensics medicine. Forensic science programs may focus on a specific field of study, such as toxicology, pathology, or DNA. The second category to which forensic toxicologists belong to are medical scientists. in which professionals also work in laboratories conducting research to improve human health. Salaries for forensic toxicologists vary by education level, length of employment, and the type of job. Salaries for forensic toxicologists vary widely depending on the workplace and the employer. The average salary for a toxicologist in the United States is $62,000 per year, or $30 an hour. In terms of salary ranges, entry-level toxicologists earn around $41,000, with the top 10% earning $96,000. A toxicologist with a PhD can earn an average of $79,000 a year. Experienced toxicologists and laboratory directors charge salaries of $100,000 or more, while newly hired toxicologists can start their salaries in the $60,000 range. To get higher salaries, you need to complete at least a bachelor's degree, which usually takes at least 3 years, then complete another 4-year degree. Sounds great that an entry-level toxicologist or crime scene investigator can earn $40,000 a year, but in reality, whilst this may be the case, the number of people chasing these roles is immense. We can blame this on the glamorous TV shows that have made the world of forensics so enticing. Unfortunately for the would-be forensics expert, the severe competition of those who want to get into forensics gives the prospective employers first choice on who to hire, and they're more likely to go for the best candidates. Struggling to find entry-level forensic roles can be stressful and heartbreaking, more so if you've spent a minimum of 4 years of your life trying to get qualified, and possibly another 3 years doing a master's. That's 7 years of your life. Worse still, you're competing with like-minded individuals who have also done the same time to get qualified for the small number of roles out there. The reason there aren't so many available jobs in forensics out there is that the main employers in this area are public bodies, like the police departments. These public employers always seem to have an ongoing battle with funding, leading to having stretched resources, leading to them not having the staffing levels they would desire, or the quality of equipment needed to ensure the forensics analysis is done accurately. They may delegate the forensics to a third party, which again could be another public body that could have the same funding issues and the inability to secure quality resources and equipment. If you are lucky enough to get a role in forensics, the initial honeymoon period could be short-lived, when expectations don't meet the reality. The dejection caused can be a shock to the system. Forensics in real life can tend to be not as glamorized as the TV shows make it be. They don't have to make it as near as possible what it's like in real life. They just need to make it so viewers can have their attention focused on their TV show and keep coming back for more episodes. Forensics can also involve working long hours, unsociable hours, being called out in the middle of the night during the cold or rain to analyse a crime in damp, squalid conditions. This just isn't glamorous. It's not going to be like Miami, Las Vegas, or LA every day. Many departments dealing with forensics are always under pressure to come up with information, leading to many forensics people having to work in isolation just to provide a full-on forensic service as budgets are limited. Some cases may not get the full forensic analysis, as there just isn't enough forensic people in the department, so these crimes may end up either being unsolved or where the perpetrator is let off any of the criminal charges involved. The answer to this may be quite simple to some people, just get more forensic people in. But in the real world, it just doesn't work like that. Forensics costs a lot of money, and that's just excluding the cost of the forensics people involved. Forensic departments' budgets can be constrained to the point where they can only get involved in high-profile cases like murder. I always say the more assumptions and opinions you make, the poorer the outcomes. As in the case of forensics, most people get into this career path on the basis of their assumptions and opinions, that it's a great rewarding career with loads of prospects. It's only when the fact dawns on them, when they start looking for work after becoming qualified, that there aren't that many jobs, and the competition for those jobs is incredible, where forensic departments have so much choice in recruiting, that they ultimately go for the best of best candidates. Many people simply don't check what the career prospects are for forensics before they set off on their journey learning about forensic science. They think with their heart and not with their head, and who can blame them? The forensic TV shows have made their mind up for them. Fear not, forensics can still work for you. Instead of focusing on a career in forensics, what about a career in cyber forensics? Cyber forensics is on the up, and it is in great demand. It's like forensics, but there's no physical crimes involved like murder, robbery, or sexual assault. There are still skills required to work out how a cybercrime was committed, involving analysis from the crime scene and determining how the crime was committed, what was stolen, potentially how much the crime cost. Cyber forensics demand is very high, as there just aren't enough people qualified to do the jobs available. The number of jobs available is driven by the surge in cybercrimes, as attackers, hackers to nation-states all have a vested interest in bringing down websites, stealing information and planting malware like viruses. As this is a global phenomenon, the attacks are near enough constant and extra vigilance is required to stop these attacks, as well as finding out the consequences of the attack should an attack be successful. Like normal forensics, where the scene like a crime scene is analysed for clues, cyber forensics will involve the analysis too of the crime scene, like a breach into an organisation's IT infrastructure. Finding out how malicious attackers managed to penetrate the defences, what they did once they were inside, did they steal, or what was damaged. Not all hackers and attackers want to steal information, some just want to destroy it, to make sure an organisation struggles to cope with the damage they have caused. Once the entry point of the attack is established, for example a secure file transfer service at an easy-to-guess password using an account with privileged access, the steps taken to avoid a repeat of this attack can be established, which in this instance would be using a non-privileged user account and a complex password with plenty of entropy, which is numbers, special characters to a mix of lower and uppercase characters. It's easy to work from home too with cybersecurity, as nearly everything happens digitally, that is through computers, so there's no physical evidence to kind of work through. There may be the odd exception where physical sites like data centers are broken into, but in the main most of the work will be involved in finding out. No more cold, damp crime scenes to trawl through, and a higher probability of working more sociable hours, which being said, you could still get called out in the middle of the night, but that would be to an office, or if you're working from home, from where you conduct your work life, like a spare bedroom. You don't need to spend years getting qualified, and then building up experience, and you don't necessarily need to have a degree. I don't have a degree, and I got into cybersecurity quite easily. Plus the scope for different roles in cybersecurity has allowed me to quickly progress. I work in cybersecurity strategy, looking at solving my employers' cyber issues, looking at their security tools, and seeing how the overall security posture can be elevated to provide the maximum level of protection. I work proactively looking for potential problems before they arise, so my employer is protected. Likewise, getting into cyber forensics isn't as difficult as it initially seems. Getting a grasp of cybersecurity principles is the first stage, as this will give you an understanding of what the different areas of cybersecurity are. The first step to getting into cyber forensics is to have a strong understanding of computer security. You need to be able to identify potential threats and understand how to protect your system from them. The next step is to get experience in the field. This can be done by working as a forensic analyst or an incident responder. There are also many online courses available that can teach you the basics of cyber forensics. Once you have some experience, you can start looking for jobs in the field. There are many opportunities for forensic analysts, incident responders and malware analysts. Finally, keep learning and stay up to date on the latest threats and security trends. So how much can you make in cyber forensics? A forensic examiner may make anywhere between $35,000 to $120,000 a year. Many factors though affect the salary, including education, experience and location. Some employers prefer cyber forensics investigators with a computer science degree, while others will hire someone with a law enforcement or military background who has received specific training in cyber forensics. It's also important for cyber forensic examiners to have up-to-date knowledge of the latest technology and software used in the field. The average salary for a digital forensic investigator in the United States is around $68,000 a year. However, this number can vary greatly depending on the city or region where the job is located. How much do forensic computer analysts make? Computer forensic analysts play a critical role in helping solve crimes. They are responsible for extracting evidence from digital devices and are analysing it to help identify the perpetrators. The job requires a great deal of technical expertise and can be very challenging. The salary range for this career can vary quite a lot, depending on factors such as experience, skills and a level of education. But generally speaking, the average annual wage for this job is around $70,000 a year. Some computer forensic analysts may earn more, whilst others may earn less. Join our newsletter. Get free guides and high-quality cybersecurity information direct to your mailbox. By subscribing to our newsletter, you will be privy to vital tips to help you understand what's really required for a cybersecurity job. Many people I speak to who want to get into cybersecurity don't seem to know or understand the basics about cybersecurity. This lack of knowledge can make it extremely difficult for them to get a job in the cybersecurity field, especially as they become clueless of what to aim for and what's really required. By appreciating what's required and what cybersecurity really is, makes it a lot easier to target your plans into getting into cybersecurity. Please could you also subscribe by clicking the link below. Thank you.